Here, the main thing you're going to want is that mute switch off, and then here, control room volume. That's the listening volume. To just below that, there's a dim switch if you need it, mono switch if you need it, and then right underneath it's alt monitor. Okay, that'll switch down to the NS10s. Okay. Up here, you need to make sure that whatever speakers you need are engaged. Most of the time, we're in stereo. You'll either be in stereo mode, or if you go to 5.1, it'll turn all the speakers on for 5.1. I'm hardly ever needing that. Why aren't I hearing all the speakers? Oftentimes it's because those aren't selected and they're muted otherwise. So, okay, as long as I'm in that area, right next to it is the headphone volume. This is what feeds a headphone signal that actually comes here.
Oh, okay.
So if you want headphones in here and you want to monitor the main output from Pro Tools, you can do that. If you're just going to get the main mix out from here. If you hit the button that says From Q, then you'll hear the same thing they're hearing, and that's really helpful. Okay. To the right of that, you've got the studio, which normally sends an output to the speakers out there, but they've been noisy and I shut them down, so they're not active right now.
The talkbacks, in other words, or
yeah, through the speakers. Everything is happening through the headphones in the other room.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So, but this is Q. That's going to control the main output volume to their headphones in the other room. If you don't want to use separate Q routing and you just want a real simple, they hear what you hear. If you do a main to Q, main to Q will send the main mix that you're getting on screen out to their headphones. You know, for overdubs or for whatever, sometimes it's easier to do that way rather than giving everybody a separate Q mix. Otherwise, it'll take a signal from the aux bus when you send the Qs out that way. Okay, it's grayed out because nothing's available. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to route everything out to main. This is what it normally looks like. You got mains and then all your C24 outputs. Q is here, B1 through 16 is there. So everything's going through the main output now, and everything should play back through the mains. Okay. Okay, let's talk headphones for a second. So as I say, if you're doing some tracking or whatever here and you just want the easiest thing to do, obviously that's just to hit main to Q and that'll send that directly to their headphones. Otherwise, if you want separate headphone mixes, you'll set up, here, let's go to where on view where we're just looking at one thing at a time here. So we're just going to look at send A. And then if I set up on send A, all right. So here, let's set this up on all the tracks. So you had all the little faders, all right? Which, by the way, if you come over here and on sends you select A, send A, these knobs will become tied to those. So cool. I find that handy to use for people's headphone sends rather than grabbing the fader and doing this. I can more quickly adjust headphone volumes from here than I can. So these guys, and then in terms of the outputs, if you send, I just sent to bus 1 and 2, but if you go to the outputs themselves and you set it up to where it goes C24Q, okay, that will route all of these guys. Now they're going directly out 7 and 8. Remember, because it's 7 and 8 on this box, it's going to the analog outputs there. So that'll route the audio directly to their Q system in the other room now. Okay. I mean, you could still get main to Q if you want to, but if that's disengaged, now what they're going to hear is going to come from these guys. Okay? And this then becomes the master volume for their headphones.
Okay. Are you still setting pre then for all these then? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Pans are good. You can't, all the panning has to be done from here.
As opposed to like on the board?
As opposed to anywhere on the board. I've not been able to figure out how to assign these pans here.
Okay. I follow.
I haven't been able to figure it out. So.
Okay.
So most of the panning needs to be done up here, but the volume is going to be put there if you want.
I usually just do follow main panner, but is that what you're talking about? You're talking about the little pan pots for the sends. Okay, that's cool.
You can, of course. I don't find it necessary, but some people like to set up a second fader over here just for routing the headphones too, so you can control
Grab
it
real fast.
So you can do an aux from here. Set it up to another channel and set that channel to the output as an intermediate fader if you want to. I don't find it necessary. You know, and then you start having to be careful of soloing and some of the other stuff because it's in the same bank. But that's just another way of doing it. So that's headphones is what we're talking about. 1 through 4. 1 and 2. 1 is left, 2 is right on bank A. When we get to use bank B, 3 is left and 4 is right.
Okay.
Okay. And what I use, we've got the PreSonus box, guys. So from the wall, you'll go 1 and 2 to the input, and then it just gives everybody has a separate volume. The one little rule is turn volumes down at first. I mean, I always show that to the students. I don't want anybody putting headphones on and getting hearing damage. So anyway, they all have their own separate volumes, 1 through 4 here. If you daisy chain them, you can go output to the next box. If you do that, this monitor level becomes active. And this monitor level will control the signal that gets sent to the next box. Okay. So that you have to be aware of. And most of the time, I'll just have 2 boxes out, like one for each side of the room, and that works fine. But like we were doing the vocal jazz group in here, and I needed 16 headphones, and so I used every single one of these.
Yeah. So it looks like it gets AC power then also.
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. That's the only sort of headache is that it is powered from here.
Right.
So in addition to the regular inputs, you do need the wall warts are back here.
Okay. All right. I see.
So.